Hello, smart and good looking listeners. It's Unemployment Day, number 135, and we're going to have a little bit of fun today. Um, we're going to talk about my windshield story from hell, which is probably going to kill a great vacation I was going to go on. Are the LA schools finally getting their shit together? Doubtful, but they're on the right track. And man, oh man, Vegas buffets are falling by the wayside. That and an AI influencer and so much more when KB's Unemployed show starts right now.
It's KB's unemployed sheet. He's unemployed and didn't know what to do, so he started a shit. Talks about stuff to kill time. He didn't know what to call it, so he called it KB's unemployed show.
Yes, KB's Unemployed show is back on the air today for a Wednesday. Just a quick announcement. I don't know if there'll be a show tomorrow. Keep your eye on the YouTube channel. There may not be a show, however, simply because I'm having a little lunch with Red Hot and Drew. Having a little lunch with Red Hot and Drew. I will keep you posted on that. Also would like to point out that I am flirting with disaster here because I'm not out from underneath my non-compete, but I'm going to start doing bits from the old show just for the hell of it because I want to. So you can always come from this day forward on every weekday. You can always come to KB's Unemployed show to the YouTube channel, and you can go and see it's 420. What are you high? As a matter of fact, I think 420 is going to be running every single day at 420 on Twitter as well. So it's going to hit you live right at 420. So put the bong down, watch the 420, what are you high? And then go back to doing what you were doing. Probably watching, I don't know, Deal or No Deal, or Chain Reaction is the one that I've been into lately. But I'm going to talk about the game shows, and one of these shows, the game shows that my wife and I have started watching, and it's like we just freaking figured out. It's like, what the hell happened to us? How do we turn into the people that we are now? Because there's one game show we've been watching. You can try and guess what it is, but I can tell you, I looked at it the other night and I just said, why am I enjoying this? Or the other day or whenever it was. And we couldn't come up with a good answer. So, day number 135, what's going on? I want to wish everybody a happy National Jelly Bean Day. I'm a big fan of the jelly beans. I don't know about the Jelly Belly as much. Well, yeah, I do like the Jelly Belly, but I like the regular old jelly beans. The regular ones that you get at Easter. The big jelly beans, the different colors, and there's something about it. The way you can call me a sociopath, but the way I eat jelly beans is probably completely psychotic. But what I like to do is I combine the experience of a hard candy with all of the experience of a jelly bean. Well, how does one do that? Quite easily. If you take a jelly bean, pop it in your mouth as if it was a lozenge, if you will, and just kind of suck on it as if it were a piece of hard candy. What happens is that hard outer area is just like a big, huge, let's dip it in pure sugar, which is probably why we love them so much. And that will dissolve until that falls away, and then you have the gummy inside. So not only do you get the jelly bean chewing experience, but it's two entirely different mouthfeels. And that is a phrase that is used in food a lot. What is the mouthfeel of that in cooking? It's got a good mouthfeel. But National Jelly Bean Day, some of the ones that Jelly Belly has, I'll admit the hot buttered popcorn one is pretty good, and most of them are all right. But then I saw one that was called Booger, And who's the taste tester? That's what I want to know. Is that how are you accurate on booger? Um, I mean, is there a guy that's going into the beans and then taking one and then boom, the finger up the nose and then another bean and then finger up the other nose? What happens if he happens to be very dry, if his nose happens to be very dry, there's not a lot of mucus there. How is he possibly getting that flavor correct? And I've never had it, I never will. Um, Although, you know what, I am kind of curious. I am kind of curious to wonder what a booger jelly bean tastes like. But I'm not, rushing out to do it at any point. Today is also National Baseball Day. I don't know why it's this late, but as it is well documented, Miss Sue and I are big baseball fans. It was great sitting down, hunkering down, watching the Brewers last night as they took it to the Detroit Tigers. Anytime you see a position player pitching, you know that the team's doing pretty well. Not the team with the position player, but the Brewers rather lit up the Tigers last night. Detroit, in terms of a city or going to Tigers games, Detroit and the Detroit Tigers, the one thing that I will say about them is that Detroit Tiger uniform with the D, with the old English D on it, is one of the 5 or 6 baseball uniforms, home unis, that must never be changed ever. Never in the history of baseball. I don't care what it is. That one, the Dodgers home jerseys, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cardinals, and I'm trying to think of the other one. There was one more there that I'm just going, no, man, that cannot be changed at all. You can't. Those stay forever. I wouldn't even be a Tigers fan, but I would wear a baseball hat with that D on it just because it's very, very cool. But I can't talk about baseball all that much because I am forbidden from doing a sports show. But I can tell you this much. When I am out from under the thumb, Tim Allen from the post game show is going to be on. Hunter Baumgart is going to be on. Pipe Bomb. I bring a pipe back. In fact, I might bring Pipe back to be my baseball correspondent if he wants to. Can't pay him because these things don't make much money. Hey, but I want to thank you for spreading the word because I got one more subscriber. Need a few more, though. Got to get to at least 500. So I've kind of stalled. Maybe my content isn't that good, but if you know anyone, say, hey, subscribe. You can come and check it out if you want. Now, I just got to hit that 500 level, and then I can move forward. If I can get there, 500, then we'll get the views up. I'll start doing some other things, but I fully anticipate that this is going to take off as soon as I am free and clear to move about the country. Because then we are going to have some real fun. And there might be, there may actually be some people who I may have done radio with in the past that may be joining me for a podcast. I'm not saying who. It's probably not who you think it is. But they will be joining me. And then finally, it is Earth Day. Earth Day. We celebrate the earth. It is, people that are into sustainability and conservation, all of that. Celebrate the earth, man. Go out and recycle some shit or something. But I am a big proponent now of touching grass. And must have been about 10 years ago. Oh, must have been longer than that. I was working on a client. I can't remember the name of the sandals. I got them upstairs, but they've got copper. There's copper in the heel, big copper things that go all the way through in the heel, and they go under each toe. and they're these sandals that you're supposed to wear outside. And there's a concept called grounding that I kind of thought was a lot of bullshit. But there's a transfer of energy between your body and the ground, and that is supposed to calm and relax you and to get outside. And I thought it was kind of full of crap because you don't really notice anything physically happening to you. But as of late, I am starting to believe that there's something to that of getting out and touching grass and hanging out, and just getting back to doing stuff in nature. That is very relaxing. So whether there's an energy transfer or not, who cares? It really doesn't matter. Um, but yeah, get outside a little bit more. Get yourself some vitamin D. Be a lot happier. I was watching my son. He was the one, and I want to thank him personally on this because you learn a lot from your kids, and you try and raise them the right way, and then they go off and they get ideas of their own. And when Patrick moved back in, when Chuck he came back in, and his last year of graduate school, he was into some things that were kind of weird. Now he is a nurse anesthetist, so he's highly involved in the medical profession and drugs and all of that. But he hates drugs. He's anti-drug. He's really holistic. He's anti-drug in the sense that he believes in the medical industry or in medical profession. It just gives someone a pill, cover up the symptoms, and move on. Um, and he's kind of convinced me that big pharma is kind of evil. And he said, listen, the body will heal itself. If you're on a high blood pressure medication, instead of throwing the money at big pharma, lose some weight, which I've done, and my blood pressure has dropped. I still have some more to go. But when he was studying, he was into something called the Pomodoro study method. And it's very holistic. And what the Pomodoro study method is, you study hard, go down for 45 minutes, just hammer it, read, do whatever you want, then you quit. And for 15 minutes, you do another relaxing activity. He would color. And the coloring thing, I make my students do it. I make them go buy a box of crayons. I allow them to doodle in class. And the reason that I do that is because I teach a class in creativity. And so many of our great creative people were ADHD or bipolar or had some sort of mental health issue, but that's what made them so creative was the affliction that they had. They were just wired differently. They were also incredibly self-destructive, which was quite sad. I lost a few very good friends who were comics because of their self-destructive behaviors. Greg Giraldo was one. Rich Jenny was another one. Great comics, but they couldn't control that self-destructive behavior. But back to the studying, the Pomodoro method is you quit it for 15 minutes. You do something different. Then you go back to studying. It kind of rewires your brain. And I have kids color and doodle in class. And the reason that I allow that is that I know from experience what it's like living in a melon like that. And if I look out in a class and I see a kid that's doodling, it doesn't bother me. Now, a lot of teachers, particularly nuns that I had in grade school, they saw that it was all over. You were toast, right? You weren't paying attention. You got the ruler across the knuckles. But really, it's just that way that mind is worked. So if I look and I see someone as I'm lecturing and they're doodling, I don't think they're not paying attention and they're not going to learn anything. I look at it and go, okay, these guys are probably pretty good. This person has probably got something going on there because I know that's how the mind wanders. And I do share that with him. I said, I'll take anyone on in a 3-dimensional box drawing contest and I'll kick your ass, because 40 years or 30 years in business and sitting in meetings that I didn't want to be in, I have mastered the art of the 3-dimensional box drawing. But he would do the Pomodoro method. Then all of a sudden, you'd be looking, and he'd be studying he studied at our dining room table, and then he'd be gone. And you go, oh, where'd Chuck go? And you'd look outside, he'd just be sitting on this hill out back. And he's just sitting there 15 minutes, get up and come in. So he's really into that. And so I start doing it more and more. And whether there's anything scientific about it doesn't matter. It's enjoyable and it's relaxing. So, hey, you do you, however you have to do it. So I appreciate that. And then the other thing that he did, which my wife was trying to do forever, and I'm not going to dive into this because I'm not going to real deep other than to share it, because I'm not going to impose anything on you. A belief is really reawoke the spirituality in me. And all the time when he was growing up, and he went to a parochial grade school, he went to a Jesuit high school, Jesuit university, Jesuit graduate school, right? So he was indoctrinated, I guess you could say. People always said to us, well, why are you spending the money like to send him to a parochial school and to send him to a private high school? And now that he's a nurse anesthetist, I can go, that's the reason why. Not that public schools where we live are bad. It's just that they weren't going to be right for him. But he kind of got me thinking more spiritually. And when he was going to school, Sue used to get mad. You're not going to church. You're not going to church. You're not going to church. And that's that kind of old school Catholic guilt thing. And he wouldn't go to church at all. And I'm not a big fan of church either. I mean, God doesn't care where you talk to him. He just, he just wants you to be, coming along for the ride, right? When you look at churches, those become businesses. And it's how can I get the cash? In many instances, it's but God is free. Churches can be expensive. God is free. But yeah, he kind of reawoke a little bit of spirituality in me. Now I'm not going to be an evangelical, but he said something that kind of, piqued my interest. And he was up against some tests in his finals and his boards, and he was a little bit flustered, but he found a way to relax. And my wife, said to him, hey, aren't you nervous? I mean, you're handling this all pretty well. And he looked at us and he said, God has a plan for me. I don't know what it is, but God has a plan. And the next step I take is a part of God's plan. So, and he broke it down to real minuscule things. And he said, so we're having this conversation. You asked that question. I'm answering it. You asking that question and me answering the question is a part of God's plan. What I do next, where I go next, is a part of God's plan. And I never really thought about that. And as I did, it's like, man, you know what? That relieves an awful lot of stress, because right now I'm doing this show. I'm recording it early. So I'm sorry if you have any comments. I can't comment back in real time. But that's part of God's plan, was me recording it early. Part of God's plan is what I have to do later on this afternoon. That's all part of God's plan. When I'm finished here and doing the show and I get it posted and I leave and I walk out, that's part of God's plan. Wherever I go, the next step I take is part of God's plan. And so it's been incredibly relaxing. So I have to thank him for that. And yeah, it's just go outside, touch some grass, find the simplest things. You know what else is really good at relaxing you too, if I might throw it out there? Um, Getting fired. Believe it or not. Why? Because it's part of God's plan. But not having to be anywhere or do anything or listen to anyone else is pretty freaking liberating, as you can possibly imagine. Um, Sue has been a little bit concerned with what are we going to do? How are we going to do that? It's like, listen, I've got the finance guy that I have. He said, listen, of all the people that I've had here, no one's ever gone broke. So we got that. Relaxing. It's pretty relaxing how that works. Um, but you know what else? What I was going to say is part of God's plan. This is part of God's plan. I didn't want it to be part of God's plan. Um, but I'm supposed to go on vacation to Costa Rica in a couple of weeks, and I may just have to pull the plug on that. And I'm not real happy about it. And the reason I might have to pull the plug on that is um, my windshield. Damn, if I didn't get catch a rock on the windshield. Now I've got car insurance with West Bend Mutual, by the way, which is by far the best insurance company that I have ever had. Now, and I can thank Tom Goldman at G2, friend of mine, who put me with West Bend. But they are the best company that I've ever had. And I noticed about 3 or 4 days ago, little crack coming up in my windshield, and obviously got hit by a rock. So I get out and look, and there's a chip in the front of the windshield. But what sucked about it, but it's part of God's plan, is that it was way down low on the windshield, just right over the hood. And down at the bottom of the windshield, there's always that dark tinted area. So that's where the chip hit. And I didn't know that there was a chip there until I saw the crack. Now the crack had extended up, and I'm like, okay, well, I got to get that repaired. So, went on to file a claim and ended up with Safe Light Repairs, Safe Light Replace. And the Safe Light dude was out, and he looks at it and he goes, yeah, that whole windshield has to be replaced. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? And what I didn't notice is the crack extended down to the bottom. So it got hit, but then it went up and it came down. And so he goes, if it hadn't have gone down, I probably would have been able to fix it where it goes up, where the crack goes up. But since it went all the way down to the bottom, there's nothing we have to do. It's got to get replaced. I have a $500 deductible. I may just have to pull the plug on that trip. But that would suck. I haven't been to Costa Rica. Would heard it's fabulous. But yeah, that may get pushed to the side because of my windshield story from hell. So now I got $500 that I'm gonna have to spit out with that, and I don't know what it is. Why is it always when you get? And I've been, I've only been fired. This is only the second time I've ever been fired. Fired once before for cause, and yeah, I was kind of a dick. But anywho, I own it. But why is it that anytime you are in a situation where you find yourself out of work, you're going to have limited income or whatever the case may be, you're cruising along up until that point, all of a sudden, boom, cash flow cuts off, and then bang, 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 here come the big bills, and you're writing checks, and it's like, oh, Jesus, what the hell? Why? God's plan. Probably is a part of God's plan. But anyway, yeah, the windshield from hell, that blows. So now I got to wait, have them come out, replace the entire windshield. And now windshields have cameras in them and all of that. But I was kind of interested. I wanted to watch how they repair those cracks because I don't know what they're doing, but I don't know what kind of medieval sorcery that is. But damn, when they do that, all of a sudden you wouldn't even know there was a chip there. And I've had them before, little seams and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know who invented that. I don't, but they're a genius. I hope they're retired now, living on a very nice retirement nest egg because that's one of life's one of the wonders of the world, right? One of the great mysteries of life is how do they fix those windshields and then they just put that blue light on. It's the same thing like when you go to the dentist and they're doing a temporary or something. They just cram, they jam all the cement or whatever in there, and then they put that blue light on you. Boom, it gets hard as a rock. So it's above my pay grade. That's all I can say. It is above my pay grade. But I was a couple of news stories. I was reading this. I'm just kind of wondering. I saw this because this has always been a topic discussion for me, and seeing it within the educational system, if you will. But it appears that LA might be getting their shit together. At least the LA schools might be getting their shit together. When I read this, I couldn't believe it. LA schools and Rahm Emanuel as well. Rahm Emanuel, who I thought was kind of a putz, well, anyone who's in politics is going to be dicey. But I was reading an article on Rahm Emanuel came out and threw the Democrats under the bus, and he was like king of the Democrats, saying, "Man, we missed the boat." He goes, "While we were busy talking about gender equity and renaming schools and all this stuff, our kids' test grades went in the toilet. They can't read, they can't write, they can't do math." And it's like, did this just come out of your mouth, dude? I can't believe it. Did sanity come out of your mouth? Not my entire opinion, but a great part of my opinion of Rahm Emanuel changed when he said that. And he goes, if we have any chance of this country surviving, we got to forget about all of that shit and get back to what these kids need to learn. And I was like, my God, thank you. Why can't anyone see this? It's like test scores go into the toilet, and the first thing they do is they come out and they go, "We need more money." And it's like, no, you don't need more money. If you go breaking this down, and I got curious and I started to look at MPS, and I don't remember the number, but I could. I'm just going to go over here to Perplexity and find it. I'm going to type this in, but I was looking at the average cost per student to put them through Milwaukee public schools, and the number was staggering. And I compared it to other things, and it was really mind blowing. So in a Milwaukee public school, it is $20,171 per pupil to put them through MPS. The national average is $14,000, so it already is $6,000 more to put them through. Then, if you cross reference that with what is the in-state tuition of Madison, and you can hear me typing and putting that in, that comes out, here we go, the tuition and fees. This isn't housing and meals. So to put a kid through MPS, it is $20,000 per student. To go to the University of Wisconsin in a state school, if you are in-state resident, $12,186. It's a nightmare. When you think about that, $20,000 per student, and it's only $12,000 in tuition. That's craziness. But anyway, back to LA. The LA Board of Education finally. That's what it said. I don't know how they get their shit together. I saw this in the LA Times. So I saw it in the top part of the LA Times because as soon as you go to a story, then the paywall comes up. And I'm like, no, I'm not subscribing to your paper. I'm not subscribing to any papers because papers are horrible. But what I did glean, and then I went to, if I want a story, I just go to AI and they can backdoor it and give me the bullet points. But what LA did is their Board of Education um, unanimously voted to restrict screen times in classrooms. Okay. Now, I don't know if it's true in every school, but I know that you come into school, you get a Chromebook, right? Which is obviously owned by Google. And you can also, once you start doing that and you're Googling that, they know everywhere that you went, everything that you did, um, everything you typed in. You talk about, Big Brother, man, that is it. But they have said we're pulling the screens. Uh, they're going to start, thank God, because my wife gets these kids and they are so underdeveloped in things. And what LA said is no screens in kindergarten, no screens at all in kindergarten, first grade, completely banned from screens at school. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. There's no reason a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old needs to be on an iPad or a computer. There's no reason at all. And they're there because it makes it easier for the teacher. So the teacher is probably getting a little bit lazier. Okay. Just give them the screen. I mean, how many lazy parents do you see? Kids screaming at a restaurant. They flip them the screen, flip them the phone. Oh, let's do this. How's Kenneth doing? Let's check in on the Kenneth cam. There's the boy. There's the big meatball racked out. All right. So they flip him a screen. And it's like a babysitter. It's like our parents. It's like when we got yelled at for watching too much TV, right? It's like you get 2 hours a week. Well, they're on their screens all the time. But finally, they got rid of them in kindergarten, first grade. Play with some blocks, play with some trucks, right? Stack some things up. And that's what Sue has said they can't do. They come in at the age of 4. Parents, and this isn't all, but parents don't, by and large, don't read to their kids. That was one of the most fun things that I ever did with my son was I'd read stories to him and then I could do voices and characters, and it was just as much fun for me as it was for him. And to this day, he still remembers it. But I mean, parents don't read as much as they used to kids because they flip them the screen. They don't play with blocks. They don't play with puzzles. They can't. I don't know what the phrasing is. Their spatial relationship is off. Their tactile abilities of picking up and stacking, they can't do, but they can all go like this and swipe, right? Because they've all got screens. But the other thing that is a negative is that these kids at a very, very young age are incredibly selfish. Incredibly selfish. And they're selfish because they all have their own screen. They never had to share. So no screens up through second grade. And then as they get older, 3 to 5, only 1 hour of screen time per day. They have to go to computer lab if they want to get on the screen, which is great. We had to go to computer labs. You had to sit there and wait. You had to sign in. You had to sign out. They are blocked at all the blocked access on any laptops as they get older. You will not be able to access any games, any entertainment, YouTube. Nope. I guess you could say the biggest child trafficking grooming site on the internet, Roblox, they can't do. Um, they are banning devices through lunch and recess in middle school and paper and pen assignments. Good God, y'all. We're going to get our kids back to learning. You know, who would have thought? I was thinking about this the other day. I have not seen, because someone brought this up and I went back and I started thinking about it. Um, Probably over the last 10 years, and I'm sure this changed with COVID because COVID gave these kids so many bad habits. We're starting to see what the problems with COVID is now. And um, people go, you know, COVID set our kids back. They didn't learn anything through COVID. I said, yeah, they did. They learned this. They learned how to stare straight ahead with a blank stare and not say anything. COVID taught them how to do that real well. Uh, but in terms of um, taking notes, I don't see it anymore. I don't see kids take notes. And I've told them that as a part of what I want them to do is I want them to get a sketchbook because you never know when your ideas are going to come. So you can just write it down quicker. You can draw or you can scribble or whatever the heck you want. You can keep it. But they take no notes, none. They all sit back and they wait for the instructor to post the notes from the lecture. Well, the instructors, many of them are morons. So what do is they do the worst PowerPoint presentations in the world, which is just bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. So a kid doesn't have to do anything. They go, well, they'll make them upload the lecture and then they go read the lecture and figure it out. They don't buy the book, I can tell you that. So I stopped using one. But but with the but they don't take notes. They don't write down, hand take notes. And I get my chops busted by the department chair because they'll look and I'll do 15 weeks of school. There'll maybe be 5 PowerPoints up. And they're like, how come you don't have your lectures up? I go, well, I'll show you my lectures. But I do lectures, I do PowerPoint lectures like you do in the business world. Okay. You don't write everything on the slide. You use an image or you use a sentence or whatever to set up what you're speaking about. And then the focus is on you as the speaker and they don't read. And then once they read the whole page, they turn out. But they don't take notes. So this whole thing about pushing teachers toward paper and pen assignments, God, I love it. But the teachers are going to fight this, and I'll tell you why. Because none of these kids can fucking write in a way that you can read it. Okay, penmanship is horrible. Your penmanship is not supposed to get bad until you're older, and you don't give a rip anymore. Your penmanship should probably be good up until about the age of 30. Then after that, my penmanship is horrible, and I had it beaten into me in a Catholic school. So the teachers will mark my words. In 2 years, the teachers will be bitching about this because they're not going to be able to read anything these kids write. But it's fabulous because they finally looked into the research and everything that we've been saying. Everything my wife has been saying, everything that I've been saying is they've got all this research that's coming out now that says screen usage is directly related to anxiety, depression, reduced attention span, lower achievement. It doesn't make things better. It lets them cheat. And that's the one thing that I can't understand. It's like, and I'm not one of those people, and believe me, I fucked off a lot in college, right? But I'm not one of those people that was like you have to go to every class, you know, because college isn't about necessarily. It's the experiential thing. It's not about necessarily what's in the book, unless you're an engineer or in the hard sciences. Then it's exactly about what's in the book. But if you're in a liberal art or anything that's communications, screw it, right? And it doesn't really matter. But lower academic achievement is coming through, and they're not doing well. And that's why, because they're always looking for this end around. They're always looking to cheat. And you talk to them, there's a problem in the equation that they've been given. And the equation they've been given by society and their parents and their guidance counselors is good grades plus good school plus good grades and good school. Good grades plus good grades plus good university plus good grades and good university equals great job. And no, it doesn't at all. But they've been fed this. So their whole objective is to get an A. And if they get an A, they're going to get a good job. Well, no, they're not, because if they get an A and they don't know how to write, or they don't know how to do a business letter, they don't know how to look anybody in the eye, they're not going to have that great job very long. So it's actually, all of that stuff is counterproductive. So big round of applause to LA getting their heads out of their asses. That is absolutely amazing. And I applaud them for that. But it's not going to last any much longer, because the teachers' unions are going to get a hold of this. They're going to bitch a blue streak. Someone's going to cave. They're going to ask for more money, and off we go again. But some students are quite resourceful. I read this. This one is amazing, and I've got a picture of this. But before I get to this picture, I just want to play this for you. We're gonna vote with our voices. We're gonna. Yeah, I had to pound that back into your head again. I'm sorry, I did. I had to put it back into your head. Can't help it. You probably thought it was out if you watched the show yesterday. You finally said, finally, this morning, I stopped hearing that song. And gonna vote with our voices. There, put it right back. It's right back up there. You're welcome. We're talking AI though. Let's talk AI, because this is wild. And it's an ingenious use of AI, but it also shows how effed up we are, and what AI is doing, and where money is going, and what people are being rewarded for. So there's this 22-year-old medical student named Sam, and he's studying to be an orthopedic surgeon. And he has to make money, right? I mean, that's not cheap. My son's not even a surgeon, and I'm sure he's coming up about 300 grand in loans. So he's got to get money. So what he did was he created an AI generated female influencer. And he goes to Google Gemini. And he posted this girl in AI, this AI girl that he created in bikinis, and he wasn't getting any traction. So he goes to Google Gemini, and Google Gemini comes back and says, hey, you got to be more niche. Why not go with a bikini-clad MAGA supporter AI influencer? And you can use that as a cheat code, because older conservative men have higher disposable income and stronger brand loyalty. And so they want to see hot MAGA chicks. So sure enough, that's what he did. And he created Emily Hart. There she is. That is not a real person. That is AI. Emily Hart is a registered nurse who loves bikinis, guns, and Coors Light. And so what Sam did was he got this picture of her, and we get keep generating pictures of this AI person, Emily, and then started posting daily pro-Christian and pro-Second Amendment, anti-abortion, and anti-immigration content in Emily's voice. So it exploded. It literally blew up. He racked up his videos, racked up about anywhere from 3 to 10 million views each. 3 to 10 million views each. Gained 10,000 Instagram followers in under a couple of weeks, and then expanded it to an OnlyFans competitor named FanView. Now, I've never heard of that, but I can guarantee you right now, after the show, I'm going to go find out and learn a lot more about it. He made thousands of dollars a month. His revenue came from MAGA-themed merchandise, FanView subscriptions featuring AI-generated images, and he spent only 30 to 50 minutes a day managing the operation. He said, I haven't seen an easier way to make money. Problem is he got caught, and Facebook removed Emily and Instagram for using fraudulent activity. But Sam claimed no remorse. He said, I didn't feel I was scamming anyone. I was just posting. You were scamming someone, Sam. You were lying. I hate to put it to you that way, but you were lying. But nonetheless, Emily Hart made him, he didn't have to give the money back, made a lot of money to pay his bills. I wouldn't know. And that's what we got to be careful about. Man, you start seeing that. We are so screwed. When this AI stuff started breaking about 4 years ago, and we saw that it was starting to pick up and get better and better, I made the comment on the air. And I said, well, get ready, because we're never going to have a fair election ever. It's over. It is absolutely over, because you're going to get people that are going to be dropping this AI stuff out there. Someone's going to see it. They're going to go off unhinged on social media. It's going to snowball, and someone is going to get, someone who may have been a good politician is going to get absolutely hosed because of something that's not true. And you can kick and scream as much as you want. But once it's out there, it's out there. You are not putting the toothpaste back in that tube. Let's check in and see how Kenneth is doing on the Kenneth cam, shall we? Let's go over and take a look. There he is. All right, there's the meatball. Racked out. He's moved over. Hey, cover your penis. He tends to be a bit of an exhibitionist. What are you going to do about that? A fixture in Las Vegas is going away. It's something that I've enjoyed on more than one occasion, but this fixture of Vegas and the Vegas nightlife is going away. What is going away? The buffet at the MGM Grand. Yes, buffets are dying in Las Vegas. They are. There's only 7 left. 7 buffets, casino buffets left. The casino buffet, all you can eat crab legs, for God's sakes, for $4.99. I can't tell you how many times I rocked the $4.95 all you can eat prime rib buffet at 3:30 in the morning at the San Remo, or went down for the 99-cent all you can eat shrimp at Slots of Fun when you're on a good heater. But they're getting rid of these buffets. What the hotels are saying, what the big casinos are saying, is that it's too expensive, but most of the revenue is coming from the high-end shows and not from the buffets. The reason they had the buffet was like, here, for $15 you can eat to your heart's content, instead of going out and spending $200 on a dinner, and then you can take that extra $185 and pump it into a slot machine. Great theory. Makes all the sense in the world right there. Get you some shrimp cocktail, some lobster tails for $12. but they're going away because people are going to the high-end shows, they're going to the high-end dinners. But Vegas is out of control expensive. Last time I was out there, I'm like, what happened? I can if I go to Vegas to vacation, I can't even afford to gamble because everything else is so freaking expensive. But that's just the way that it's going. But I mean, I can't go out and drop $200 every night on a dinner if I'm out there. No, man. Sometimes if you go on a good heater, you can't do that. You got to go. You got to go crush that buffet. You got to get, you got to get your base down. But the buffet is going away down to 7. I've had a couple of experiences at the buffets, which I'm going to save those for another show. But one of them involved the $4.95 prime rib at the Sam Remo, which then spun out of control into a weekend that involved buying. Oh, I don't know. That involved losing money at a craps table, getting yelled at by a pit boss. Didn't get thrown out anyway, didn't do anything bad, but getting yelled at by a pit boss. Then going out to one of the performing arts shows, figuring that I'll throw a couple of shekels at someone to who could do a little dance show for me, and only to find out that it was that person's first night on the job in Las Vegas, and they had come from South Dakota. So how about that? How about that? You get a South Dakota person on their first night. I can tell you they hadn't learned they learned none of the finer tricks of the trade. And it's like, I didn't need to be a trainer. But then it spun into watching a good friend of mine get beat on a dealer pulled a 7-card 21 and smoked him out of about $1,500. Went 21 into 20 on 7 cards, and it's like, dear God. But the whole weekend went bad, and then added into it having a guy in one of the bathroom attendants go, when I go to grab a cigar, back when I smoke cigars, he says, here, I'll get you a Cuban. And then, oh, that's great. I'm figuring I'm on a bad luck streak. I'll take the Cuban cigar. Things are looking up, and bang, charge me $50 for that. So it's the buffet, though, has to stay. That's all I'm saying is the buffet has to stay. I'm sorry for rambling there, but the buffet has to stay. And let's get down here to one. I want to get down to one final thing here before I sign off, because I got places to go. I got things to do. This guy, I had that story yesterday about the guy who killed the jogger and was not ticketed, and it was an accidental death. He was driving. It was an accidental death. He was not ticketed. It was bad visibility, purely accidental. So he was not cited. And then turned around and sued the family for PTSD. It's like, what the fuck? Well, here's another one, just like that. This one is going to Portland, Oregon. So this one's going to be a beauty, because those people are out. They're nuts. But this 28-year-old Portland man has filed a $17.5 million lawsuit against Westland, Oregon, the police department, that occurred while he was under the influence of magic mushrooms and marijuana. Now, okay, so he's tripping. He's high and he's tripping. So what happened is while he's tripping, he burned off all but one of his fingers. A catastrophic self-inflicted injury on mushrooms. Now, okay, here's the deal. They're fun. I'm not gonna lie, I did them when I was in college. I did nothing but laugh all night long. I never saw him as being hallucinogenic in that way that I would harm myself. I just sat there and laughed. Um, but he burned off all of his fingers except for one. So the police officers, they responded, but allegedly left without what he said providing adequate care. And this was deliberate indifference to his medical emergency. Um, well, you were tripping and you burned off your fingers. What would have constituted? What would have constituted adequate care? I mean, called an ambulance, sent them off, but I don't know what should the cop have done? You were tripping, for Christ's sake. You burned off your fingers. There's nothing rational there, man. That's your fault. That is on you. That is 100% on you. You know, you do not trip and then sue the cops. Because why? Because you were tripping. And the other thing, how do you remember? I mean, if you're tripping, how do you remember the facts? You got to go to court. You're going into a lawsuit. You're going to have to give a deposition. And if I'm the attorney on the other side, all I'm doing is going, hey, were you tripping? Were you on shrooms? Were you high? You were? Okay, then how do you know that this is okay? How do you remember what you did? How do you know it wasn't some big sort of Shrek ogre that came in and lit him on fire? Okay. How do you know? You don't know. You have no idea. $17.5 million. And a judge said, yes, you can proceed. Wow. Wow. The guy was voluntarily intoxicated. And I believe shrooms and weed are legal out in Oregon. And I'm sure this is going to start to backfire on him. I mean, you can't even drive around Milwaukee now. I mean, Denver is really bad, but you can't drive around Milwaukee without smelling weed. I have driven on the expressway and gone past. There are a couple of spots on the expressway where you'd be driving along and all of a sudden, man, is that weed? Just the other day, I pull up behind a car at a stoplight. It's only me and the car in front of me at a stoplight. And all of a sudden I'm in my car and I'm just smelling weed. It's like, well, I know what that guy's doing. But if you're going to be on weed and you're going to burn off all your fingers, no, or not on weed. You're going to be on mushrooms and burn off all your fingers. I think that immediately disqualifies you from any further legal action against the police department. You're lucky that they got there and all. And that would be the worst thing, man. I would not want to be a cop out in Oregon where everyone is just so messed up. But that's America. It's the America we love today. So today, that is bringing us to the end of the show. I did give you just wanted to touch on a few things. Keep an eye on the page, because the YouTube page, and you'll know whether or not I'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, I have a lunch with two very important people that you may know, Red Hot and Drew. We're going to go have a little lunch. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I do not know what's going to happen. Not saying anything, but I may not be back from the lunch in time to do a show. If not, maybe I'll put one up on Friday or put one up later. But there will be a 420. What are you high? And just stick around, because in about 20 minutes, come back to the YouTube channel, because this is a pretty damn good 420. What are you high? And until we meet again, all I can say is what I always do, and that is make good choices. And that's it for this episode of KB's Unemployed Show. If you want to follow me on my unemployed journey, just subscribe to my channel below or dive into one of the playlists for all my unemployed